You're tuned in to Repco Muscle Garage, the home of New Zealand's toughest muscle cars, hot rods and street machines. Proudly brought to you by Repco, in association with Mount Shop, Maguire's and Rislone. This week, Nostalgia Show and Go. We meet new drivers and new cars gearing up for a summer season's racing in the vintage gas class. And we raid a West Auckland garage home to some of this country's coolest customs. But first, thanks to our good mates at Maguire's, we're in the Wairarapa, checking out the latest from the Magoo's Street Rod stable. This built-to-drive 56 Ford F100.
I was approached a few years ago by an Auckland businessman who was a real Ford fanatic and he'd had a long time dream to own an F100. So the quest started. The two of us went out to look and hunt to find a suitable donor vehicle, which we ended up picking up from John Goodall in Te Araha. Brought it down to Masterton and totally stripped it down and started from scratch. The plan for the truck was to build something quite distinctive. Having said that, it's not intended to be a show truck, it's intended to be a driver, and that's very much how Jim works. He uses his cars, he enjoys driving the cars. They're not just intended to be pretty things to look at. Right from the outset, one of the key things was to have the right motor. So what we ended up doing was putting a Smedine motor in it. It's a 351 bored out to 427, but it runs a Baller fuel injection. So it's 614 horsepower and 632 foot-pound of torque. So it's a serious motor running into a 6-speed stick shift. And again, a manual was one of the key things in the project. Another key thing that was wanted right from the start was 4-wheel independent suspension. And in that regard, we used Kugel setup front and rear with Willwood brakes, because again, if you're going to go, you've got to stop. And so that was another part of the initial brief that we had for the vehicle.
And this injection of modern technology into a classic 50s pickup certainly has achieved the desired effect.
Yeah, I mean, I've owned an original F100 myself in years gone by, and this vehicle certainly doesn't go or handle like an original one does. It just far exceeds it. It's like a modern car. This particular car has got performance, and yet it's really quite manageable on the street. It's got the nicest stick shift manual that I've ever driven. It's comfortable to ride with the independent suspension. It stops on a dime. It really has delivered everything we wanted to in the vehicle.
And with those good bones, it was never going to be a case of throwing the original cabin tray back on top and calling it a day. Very far from it.
There's only a couple of original panels left on the vehicle. Other things have been tweaked, often very subtly. The vehicle is being debadged. We extended the wheelbase an inch. We widened the rear fenders. We did a lot of custom work on the well side. And the likes of the running boards are scratch built, and there are a number of differences. You've really got to park this vehicle against an original vehicle for most people to notice those things. Every vehicle we build is different in terms of the relationship that we have with the owner. In this instance, the owner really had some quite particular things that he wanted with the vehicle, and his attention to detail was quite incredible in a positive way. He would regularly come down and would sit and we'd measure and we'd mock up and really just work out what met his personal tastes, but it was also his eye for detail on the vehicle. And that was literally down to the millimetre in some instances in terms of the detail that we put into the vehicle and the modifications that we made. The finished project, we want people at the first glance to say, yeah, that's a cool looking truck, but then to look deeper at it and to just see what makes that truck stand out from another truck driving down the road or another vehicle driving down the road. So there's a whole lot of factors that go into that. Obviously the stance of the car, the colour of the car, the type of the wheels, just how the whole package comes together as a package is critically important to just making the car or vehicle stand out against everything else that's on the road. The trick with a vehicle like this is to get everything in proportion and all the details meshing in together. You know, you can have a great paint job, a great leather interior and all the rest of it, but does everything fit? Does it ultimately look like it's supposed to be a vehicle, a special vehicle? There's just a unity that comes with all those parts and components come together, and that's what we aim for.
While Magoo's builds are a team effort, the lion's share of time and skill invested into the F100 is credited to Jasper Elliott, who clocked up countless hours working with the owner Jim to create his dream truck. With the packed workshop, it certainly won't be the last vehicle to roll out of the Magoo's Street Rods doors. But this highly customised F100 sure is something a bit special.
Yeah, it's a real privilege to be able to build cars like this. We get a kick out of it, we know the owner gets a kick out of it, we know everybody that sees it just loves it, and the reaction from people just when we've been doing our own driving of the vehicle was great, and the owner's getting the same sort of feedback now. That just makes it all special, and we never get tired of doing that. The ultimate test, I guess, for me personally, with the cars that we build, is that would I want to own it test. And whilst we all have different tastes and what have you, if we had that unlimited budget and an unlimited size garage, would we want to own that vehicle ourselves? That's the ultimate test of are we really happy with what we've done with the vehicle. This truck certainly ticks those boxes for me.
Right, thanks to Mount Shop, we're shed raiding. This week we gatecrashed the garage of John Delamura, a man who's dedicated a good deal of his life to sourcing and collecting his fair share of New Zealand's coolest rods and customs.
Yeah, we're going back 50 years there, showing my age. I originally started off with motorbikes, you know. My first bike was a Rabbit, which I bought off Buy, Sell and Exchange. I was about 13. I got into trucks. The old F100s come along and moved into F100s, and from then I joined Wongaray Rod and Custom Club in Wongaray, and that's when the hot rodding started, the bug. My parents are both Italian, and my dad was a chef. No one in our family were car orientated, so it's just something I got a passion for and made a life out of it.
And John and Robin's West Auckland garage is home to an enviable collection, with a car for every occasion.
Really, starting from the 30s right through to the 50s, from Fords to Buicks to Cadillacs. And I'm not singling out which is better and which is not. It's what I like, you know, and what I like the look of, you know, and sometimes what's comfortable and what's not, you know. I'm hopping in a hot rod, I'll hop in the 32 and rattle and bang and cruise down the road. If I want to go in a lounge suite, I'll take Bad Cat out.
John's forged a career sourcing and importing from the States. First it was wheels, before expanding into vehicles and memorabilia. It's a profession that's got a whole lot more complicated of late, which sees John and Robin experiencing their first New Zealand winter for quite some time, thanks to COVID's impact on travel. Whether it's a car to on-sell or a keeper, the purchase criteria is pretty straightforward.
People say, you know, like Mustangs are the car to buy, or Dodges, that I have to like something. When I went from pickups to cars like the Buicks, I just saw a style in them, you know, the shape, the body styles, everything like that. Them, Cadillacs, you know, Pontiacs. In America, like, I mean, Chevys, 57 Chevys, 56 Chevys, there's so many of them. But your Buicks were few and far between, you know. I'm not a dead stock person. I don't mind the body being dead stock, but I like all the running gear to be late model and a little bit of a mover.
Seems there's a couple of other themes at play currently too.
Bad Cat was the first of the matte cars, but then the patina started. A lot of the guys said I've gone over to the dark side with the patina stuff. But saying that, the last 4 or 5 vehicles we landed are gone back to the shiny side of things. And funny enough, you know, 7 or 8 of those vehicles are all black, the same colour, so I don't even know what's happening there.
One of those latest arrivals is a bit of a jaw-dropper too. This stunning Buick Custom, a bucket list car for John.
I've always loved the 50, you know, and the fastback sedan. They're quite a stylish car. Many years ago, Paul Knight did one that I tried to buy at Kumu Swap Meet as a stock vehicle. And the owner said, what would you do with it? And he said, I'd chop it. And he was in disgust. You know, and he said, well, I wouldn't be selling it to you. And that vehicle was sold to Paul Knight. He was a panel beater, and he took that away, and man, it was one of the best chops I've seen on a car, and that's quite a few years ago. I've always looked for one. In 20 years, I never found one, but I knew of one that was being built, and this one happened to, I knew it'd come up to a stage it would come up for sale, and I happened to be able to purchase it. Yeah, it's had a great chop, you know, how I liked them with the pullers leaning forward, but you know, I would have liked it chopped a bit more, but today, as you get older in age, you like to be able to get in and out of them. The trunk's been all shaved and changed, the pullers have been leant forward, it's running an LS motor, been grafted over a later model frame. It's like hopping into a hot rod but driving a late model car. And I think it's the way things are going with, like, everyone seems to be going towards reliability with LS motors. You know, but the only thing is understanding the computers that drive them.
And that drivability is a crucial component in this West Auckland garage. John and Robin have never been ones to shy away from putting a few more digits on the odometer.
Oh, the best part is driving them. Like, I mean, I try and take one car out every day. I call it the racetrack around Kumu, but it's a track that I just drive around the whole outside of Kumu to give a car a run, and that's the best part of my day. I've enjoyed hot rodding all my life, you know, I just love it, you know, I've made a business out of it. Always looking at cars, everyone keeps saying, you know, would you buy any more cars? I've even got a t-shirt that says just one more car. You know, who knows what pops up? I mean, if I really like something, you know, but it's also the people you meet, you know, and the events you go to, the friends you have, lifetime friends in the sport. I mean, it's just a great institution, you know.
The advanced protection of hybrid ceramic.
Whoa.
Now in 3 easy-to-use products. In original spray wax, now as a liquid wax, and a spray detailer. Meguiar's hybrid ceramic family with advanced SiO2 technology. Meguiar's, ceramic made easy.
Rizlone has been in engines almost as long as engines have been in cars. Why? Because from then until now, there's never been a perfectly clean fuel. This means every time you fill up, you're adding pollutants and contaminants to your fuel system. Rizlone Fuel Injector Cleaner can cure those woes and help save your engine. Rizlone Fuel Injector Cleaner adds an upper cylinder lubricant, providing double the cleaning power out of the same bottle. We know something about aging well, so when we say it's your engine's fountain of youth under a screw top, you can count on it. Rizlone is the original engine tune-up. Available at participating stores near you.
You're back with Repco Muscle Garage. Thanks to Rizlone, this week we're catching up with the guys and now girl as they gear up for a summer of big smokies, dry hops and wheel stands. Yep, drag racing the way it was with the vintage gas class.
Own set of rules based loosely on the kind of 60s gases, straight axle at the front, negative brake, so the nose has got to be in the air, you know, nosebleed style, must run slicks and pre-70 body. Our biggest rule is it's got to be fun.
Nostalgia racing classes like vintage gas have long been a favourite fixture of drag strips in the States. We were a bit slower off the mark here in New Zealand, but that's changing real fast. Wondering exactly what took everyone so long to catch on is GT Norris.
When I brought this car over here, everybody looked at me like I was off another planet or something. But look at it now. I mean, everybody's caught up. They've seen the light. 1985 I bought that car.
While gases first got their name from the choice of fuel, running gasoline instead of race fuel, they're perhaps best identified by their nosebleed reverse rake starts. What's perhaps more of a styling choice these days was once created out of necessity.
Yeah, back in the day the traction wasn't great and the tyres weren't that great either, so the whole idea of the weight transfer to the back axle, you know, before you even leave, so all your weight's at the back, and roll from there. And luckily enough, there's enough people around to kind of keep that vibe going, which is awesome.
They're just going for the look. With the sticky tyres nowadays, you don't need the weight transfer. That was the only reason they did it. Got the motor up high so it shifted the weight back under acceleration. Like they say at Vintage Gas, it's all about the show. That's what we're doing, putting on a show. It's putting the fun back into drag racing. I think it says that somewhere.
And keeping things fun means the emphasis is on entertainment over time slips, or so they claim. And the class sports all sorts, from 8-second race cars to 14-second street cars, with a whole lot in between. No one wants to lose though, so there's plenty of friendly rivalry on the start line. But off it, you're just as likely to see those drivers side by side pitching in time and parts to get everyone back on track come next round. The racer return format also means a full day's racing if you get a bit sleepy at the tree.
We keep going out round after round. Nobody gets knocked out. Everybody gets plenty of runs throughout the day.
It's not you lose, park it up. We do a dial-in system, but it's heads up off the line and it's sorted out at the end of the thing, so we find out who the winner is at the end of the day. But yeah, they got a good system going.
The average ET might not be lightning quick, but the vintage gas class sports a few fast drivers behind the wheel. The appeal is obvious. Racing here is not about getting from A to B with as little drama as possible in the shortest time you can. It's about style. Big smokies, dry hops, and when the track permits, wheel stands. Wild passes are all in a day's work.
You don't really know what it's going to do, especially when I had the clutch in it. It was a crapshoot. You'd dump the clutch and it might go left, might go right, might go up. It's hey, let's see what happens. Stab it, hang on.
It's good, it's fun, unpredictable. Every time you leave that line, left, right, up. It's fun, it's a fun group.
There's so many in the build coming out for next season. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's cool.
A new car on track for a summer debut is Dave's Austin A40.
Oh, gases for me, I've always loved them. Been involved, like going along, watching drag racing for years, you know, when I was a kid. And they're just something about the appeal of the cars, you know, like they're really cool. Look like they're doing 100 miles an hour, sitting still, let alone going down the drag strip, and little wild launches, and, you know, really cool to watch. Lots of fun.
Dave's no stranger to the vintage gas class. In fact, he's one of those directly responsible for getting it off the ground. However, his return to the strip won't be behind the familiar wheel of his '54 Chevy.
It was a long road building that Mexican, and man, I loved driving that car. That was really cool. The Austin, I actually bought the Austin on behalf of some others, you know, a couple of guys that were wanting to get in, race gases, and I'm always keen to grow the group. Yep, you know, we'll build another car. Once I bought it, they turned around and said, oh, no, we're looking for a different style of car. I said, oh, well, that's fair enough. Looked at this one, looked at the Mexican, and thought, well, man, I could put a whole lot of horsepower that's in the Mexican into this little wee car here and have a lot of fun. So kind of how it came about. Wasn't an easy decision to sell the Mexican, you know. I've put sort of 9-10 years of build into that, but yeah, the more I got into the Austin, yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah, can't wait to get out there. Shorter wheelbase, same sort of horsepower. It's going to be great. 496 big block Chev, so it's what I had in the Mexican. Pulled it out into here. It's got a clutch turbo, so turbo 400 with a clutch in front of it. It's old school technology, but bringing it back. They're a pretty wild ride, shift pretty hard. Ford 9-inch diff. Got a tunnel ram on the 496 at the moment, 1050 CFM poly dominator, running on avgas. It's not the highest horsepower motor, but I suppose 500, 550, something like that. Yeah, it runs real strong all day long, which is what I like to do. All about the show. Big burnouts, wheel stands, dry hops. Those dry hops, you know, getting to know the traction and that sort of thing before you dump the clutch and launch. Yeah, that's awesome. Everybody loves it, including us. So yeah, we're right into that.
New to the ranks this season will be Vintage Gas's first female driver, Andy. The car should look a bit more familiar, however, the ex-Chris Hornblow 56 Chevy. A staunch performer, but one that offers a view just a bit different to the Altered's Andy shared seat time in with husband Craig, pilot of the now rival Lark Ness monster Studebaker.
A little bit of seat time with those, nothing really significant. The Altered was great, the Altered's fun, but it takes a lot of work to run the Altered, and we kind of liked the idea that we could run the gases on our own, we didn't need crew, they were just a lot more laid back and a lot more fun, so yeah, can't wait to get out there.
The Chevy has a good backstory too. Raced from the late 60s, the hardtop has a real Kiwi connection even before it made its way to our shores. Unearthed stateside by Squeak Bell, purchased and raced by Golly Adams at one point, and it also spent time with Kiwi Steve before West Auckland's Chris Hornblow snapped it up for his collection, putting it to work at events like Gas Awards before Andy got hold of the keys.
It's all about the history. It's the original paint from when it was campaigned between 68 and 72. We'll add the name to it, so it's going to be called the Bakersfield Bomber, because all its history is kind of in Bakersfield. It was originally in 56 out of Shafter in California, so that's really close to Bakersfield. So we'll call it the Bakersfield Bomber, and yeah, we just want to I just want some seat time really. I just want to get out there and really looking forward to it. Yeah, there'll be some great rivalry between me and the boys, I think. Just want to be out there and I don't want to be treated any differently. They're certainly going to know about it if I beat them, so yeah.
The Chevy runs a 355 small block backed by a Power Glide which feeds a 9-inch rear stuffed with a Mark Williams centre and strange 31 spline axles. Tough gear, which makes it right at home on the quarter, but impressively not limited to it either. This 56 has a WAF.
It is really different driving a door car than driving the Altered. It's funny because Chris Hornblow said to me that it's like driving a lounge chair, and it kind of is in comparison to the Altered. Very much the same, like the running's the same and things like that, the shifting and all that kind of stuff, but it is kind of like driving a lounge chair, like it's actually surprisingly comfy.
And Andy will be in good company come the summer racing season. The vintage gas ranks are growing fast, and with a winning formula of putting the fun back into the sport, all bets are on that number only going up.
Yeah, unbelievable. To hear of guys coming last year and walking away and going home to build a car for this year, just blown away actually. Yeah, they just keep coming out of the woodwork and everyone's kind of coming along to watch, seeing how much fun we have and going home and getting those old projects that have been sitting around for a while. And I thought, you know what, I could put a straight axle under that and join the Gasser guys.
Your ride needs some love? We've got you sorted. Thanks to our mates at Maguire's, we have this massive complete car care pack worth over $760 to give away. Plus a $500 Mount Shop voucher to keep the underside ship-shape too. And to top it off, 1 year subscription to NZ V8 magazine. To enter, simply head to themotorhood.com and hit the Repco Muscle Garage link. The winner will be drawn at the end of the series. Easy. During this year's Repco Supercars Championship season, the garage is your go-to place for all things supercars and motoring. Exclusive content, special guests, and your chance to win amazing experiences at the track. Register your interest today. Repco Muscle Garage was proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts. Mount Shop, undercar specialists. Maguire's, people who love cars love Maguire's. And Rizlo, high performance additives for high performance vehicles.